The Tenpai is coming. Yubel has a lot of good battle phase-based game plans, right? Nightmare Pain is enough to keep things at bay. Seems like we've got a pretty decent hand. I think I caught in Jonathan's hand a Droll and Lockbird as well as a Mulcharmy Fuwalos and some starter cards. So let's start off with
Samsara D Lotus. You don't get better than that in the Yubel deck. Any response to the summon here from Nicholas?
Nicholas is considering the options here.
He might be revealing what kind of Tenpai deck he's been playing. We've seen players in the past, kind of like Andre, who won YCS Sacramento. He kind of favored having a more interaction-focused one. But let's also have a lot of go second cards, like Ultimate Slayer, Lightning Storm, etc., which doesn't really help when your opponent's going first. But there's the Squirmer, and then the Link 2, it looks like, using Samsara D Lotus.
So it looks like instead we are going right into, wow, it's Fiendsmith time, effectively, as we have the Moon of the Closed Heaven.
Yeah,
Light Fiend.
Yeah, the decision John might be going here is he doesn't necessarily need to go into his Yubel engine yet, and there we see the Fuwalos being used.
Fuwalos definitely a good call. It might be that he wanted to hold off on the Fuwalos to avoid anything like a Triple Tactics Thrust or Triple Tactics Talent, but at this point you know with the Moon of the Closed Heaven, multiple monsters are going to be hitting the board here, so you're probably going to draw a few cards unless your opponent is stopped dead in their tracks by that terrifying little wing beast.
I also just noticed that Jonathan has Nightmare Pain already in hand, so he's like, even if all my cards get stopped on the Fiendsmith side, I still potentially have access to my Yubel engine, so I don't necessarily need to go beyond this.
Okay.
So looks like play shall proceed. Gonna let that resolve, but you can't just leave the Moon of the Closed Heaven, not here in a single elimination top 8. So we are gonna go ahead and link that off to make Fiendsmith's Requiem here.
Yep, there is that little coffin gonna be played, gonna get the draw off Fuwalos there for that summon from the extra deck.
I think I might have caught an Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring added from the deck to the hand there with the Fuwalos.
And there we see a Droll and Lockbird in response to the first draw, meaning no more draws from this point forward, even though we had Fuwalos activated. That's awesome. Really awesome counter for Jonathan there. Didn't have the Ash to stop it originally, but he does have the Droll and Lockbird.
Certainly something we see in Master Duel from time to time against Max C, but just as good a move against the Mulcharmies. Slowing herself down, but still able to special summon from the deck. So Fiendsmith's Requiem, I'm going to go ahead and go to the graveyard. Taking a quick look here just to make sure we've got some interesting targets, thinking ahead of time.
Yeah, because we opened that Gravestormer, we can always bring back the Lotus and then use the Effective Tribute from there. Like I said, we have infinite access to our Yubel engine as Jonathan. So even if we get interrupted on the Fiendsmiths, which as we've seen throughout this weekend are not the best things to interact with because it requires multiple cards, and then sometimes they can still summon Desiree, so it can be a little tricky.
Certainly can be, but we are just piling on through here. I believe a Necroquip Princess on the way, and there she is in defense mode. No more draws from the Mulcharmy Fuwalos there, certainly staring it down, thinking, oh, if I could only draw, but instead a Grave Squirmer is going to be banished, and we'll see Samsara D Lotus hit the field.
Yep, and there we see the Tribute to go ahead and special summon a Yubel monster from the deck. And there's the Ash for Samsara D Lotus, one of the most powerful interactions for that card. I think it was the draw, Fuwalos, right, like you said?
It was. So it might be a little surprising on the Jonathan side because he was like, wait, you would have Ash Blossomed a little sooner, but I guess that means he probably figured out he drew it.
There we see the Engraver effect to summon back, and are we just going to go into a high Wave King Caesar? I mean, that's not nothing.
It's certainly powerful and definitely a decent play against Tenpai if they're unable to deal with it. So looks like actually instead we're going to see the Fiendsmith sequence though.
He's like, I bet you don't have any more interactions. I want to get Desiree in play. Going to be shuffling back Engraver. Oh, this might be Aerial Eater.
Yeah, it is actually.
That's something that the Yubel deck specifically has access to that not all Fiendsmith decks actually use. Really useful, lets you dump some more as well.
So take a look at the graveyard there. Necroquip Princess, Samsara D Lotus, and Droll and Lockbird are about to be joined with some new friends. So what shall Jonathan send?
It's unfortunate that this Nightmare Pain in Jonathan's hand is actually now not being able to be used because he has no dark monsters in play.
Is a little difficult. Unfortunately, many fiends, but none of them from the darkness. A wind and a light for now.
There we see the Spirit in the graveyard. How much farther can we go, or how much farther do we want to go as Jonathan? Is a good question, because, you know, Yubel famously has a very tight extra deck, so the more cards you use that you can't recycle can sometimes be pretty tough.
We did see yesterday some Yubel gameplay that went a little too long, and that way the extra deck was completely emptied out of any options. But still early in this duel, so Jonathan's going to put down an SP Little Knight.
Oh, that does give him access to darks now. You're going to go ahead and banish the Fulos just because you can. You're not attacking this turn because you're going first. We're now going to go ahead and summon Phantom of Yubel, but putting 2 monsters shuffled back into the deck that are Yubel and Fiend.
Phantom Yubel definitely powerful, lots of insurance against various different effects there, and the possibility that even if his opponent starts to play well, it's Yubel time. So with SP Little Knight and Phantom Yubel, we'll pass turn, and Nicholas will begin.
So there we have a monster replacement effect as well as a banish with the SP Little Knight. Really solid interactions. Might not need that much. He obviously doesn't know he's playing against Tenpai yet, I don't think, but let's find out what we get. We start with the Ultimate Slayer, a card that I haven't seen all weekend, but I've heard so much about. It's a really powerful going second tool for helping you to break boards, being able to not be responded by monster effects. You go ahead, you send a card from your extra deck, and you send a monster of the same type, shuffle it back in the deck.
And practically for free, because with Garura, you are going to get to draw a card as well. So it's almost like you got it for nothing.
Just clarifying everything for the players of how this resolves. I think, are they asking if Garura activates on a new chain? I believe it does.
It should, that's correct.
Just double checking. When that card is sent to the graveyard, it just basically draws you a card.
And a very strong play indeed, getting a little further in the deck, and again, getting rid of that powerful Phantom of Yubel, again, for absolutely free in terms of card advantage.
And there I see the Sangen Kaiman, which is a really powerful tool for going for game, but with that SP, we still have to deal with one more interaction that could be troublesome.
Now we've got the Tenpai Dragon Genroku.
I think it was just a summon. Are we thinking on the summon?
Possibly, but it's battle phase time. Going to attack.
Attack? Okay. Yeah.
But before, we're going to go ahead and tribute it to Special Summon.
So yeah, he's attacking on declaration of attack using Genroku.
Oh, it looks like it just went to the graveyard for no effect of any kind.
Okay. Not going to be able to summon, but now we have Kaiman in the battle phase. Obviously, there's not 2 monsters in play, so SP's Little Knight's effect cannot activate. There are not, I don't think it's up to 2. You have to target specifically 2 cards.
That is correct. So now he's got to plan very carefully, because with only those monsters on the field, any activated effect might be a little troublesome. Can imagine a Tenpai Dragon Pydra arriving without activating its effect. It would be a little bit of a negative in card advantage there, but at least you wouldn't have to deal with the SP Little Knight.
Yeah, because Pydra does have 1,700 attack, which is just enough.
Sounds small, but hey, anything will get you over.
There we see another Genroku, and I think he's going to choose to add it to the hand and resolve the effect of summon.
Oh, very clever there.
This gives him access to tuners, which is really important.
But it also puts multiple monsters on the board, so now the SP Little Knight is not nearly as frightening as it once was.
Oh, I see. We chained the Kaiman to the Genroku effect, and that's how we got the summon of Fadra and Chandra. It's not that we didn't resolve it, we just chained Kaiman afterwards. It has to go to the graveyard first before you can actually resolve the effect.
My apologies for misinterpreting. Unfortunately, no hablo español, so I couldn't understand the players speaking.
Yeah, I assumed just like you did that Genroku just went to the graveyard without effect. But I was like, why? I believe now we're attempting to activate Fadra's effect to summon? No, because we haven't attacked yet, right?
We've got our monsters on field here. Players may be taking a quick pause, almost thinking, I saw that Molcharmi in the hand, considering do you activate the SP Little Knight to banish and then drop the Molcharmi?
But then at that point, what other cards can you draw into to protect from all the battle phase shenanigans?
Well, now we have that third monster with the Tenpai Dragon Genroku that was searched, and it is going to be a level 4 monster.
Yep, and I believe that makes it a tuner now, too.
That is correct.
So now we have 2 tuners, which means SP Little Knight cannot get rid of all of our tuner access, which is pretty huge.
Almost got the full Tenpai Dragon strategy in play here. Again, a little Mahjong theme goes a long way.
Oh, yeah. So there we see Fadra. I believe that's going to crash, because Fadra is 1,600.
Okay.
But wait, there's more.
Bring out the Pydra. Pydra effect to search for a spell.
No puedo Tenkai nada. Okay.
And all that's during the damage step, so of course you cannot activate the effect of that SP Little Knight.
That's right.
And so it is destroyed.
And because of all the Tenpais being in play, his monsters cannot be destroyed by battle. I believe that's 2 attacks down, which means we're only a few more away from achieving the full dragon combo.
But it's definitely up to Nicholas to still play. I like that Jonathan has not conceded this game yet. With all of the extra time that he has, he certainly can wait to see how his opponent plays the strategy out. And make sure to just keep him honest, right? You've got to play this. I'm not going to let you play it for me. But with the Odd Eyes Meteor Dragon, that Meteor Burst Dragon, that changes things up because battle phase effects, it's not a thing anymore.
For Jonathan.
Okay.
For Jonathan, that is correct. Remember the Odd Eyes Meteor Burst Dragon's powerful effect, besides being a Fire Dragon Synchro monster, works perfectly with strategy, prevents your opponent from being able to activate any effects during the battle phase. So even if you're drawing off that Mulcharmy Fualos, it's not like you're going to be able to find a savior. Not even Karibo can help you now.
Oh, yeah. Now we're just doing some math here. I believe that brings us up to 4,900 damage. And I believe we still have access to Chundra and or Fadra to quick Synchro Summon and get that Biden Dragion.
Él ya está con.
And remember, there is that set Sangan Summoning Field spell on the field, so some double attack power could happen at a moment's notice.
Trident Dragion can just come out of nowhere.
Confirming with the judges to make sure that they're aware of the math as well. Now we are going to go ahead and Synchro Summon there.
We get Transcendence Dragion. And then there it is.
Players are both in it to win it. They're not disrespectful to one another. Always offer that handshake. Always be the better duelist.
We're all true duelists here.
All right, so-
Ooh, Jonathan did choose to still go first. I respect that.
and it's going to be Mulcharmy Purulia here.
Yeah, so the reason why you would still want to go first, even though Tenpai has a much weaker turn 1 going first, is if you have enough interactions as Yubel, you just don't care what they do. And there we see the call by the Grave on the Purulia.
Making sure that we don't have any communication disruption here. It looks like we're attempting to chain Called by the Grave. They are discussing with the judges.
It might have been that Jonathan said the words okay, and then maybe Nicholas thought that that meant he let it resolve, and now it's a new window for called by. But I do think Jonathan meant to play this. Yeah, just I think they're also clarifying what phase they're in.
Taking a second, looks like a little bit of a shake of the head from Nicholas, almost implying that we are going to resolve the Called by the Grave, and we'll know when it's banished.
Activate y todo eso.
Do you have a
King,
great
no para-
judge team here again?
Activate.
Just because our players speak Spanish doesn't mean we don't have Spanish-speaking judges, so happy to have them. But it does look like we are going to banish that, and so there won't be any drawing.
Come on.
So there we see the Lacrima of Crimson Tears being summoned from the hand. Going to go ahead and dump a Fiendsmith card from the deck to the graveyard.
And no card drawn, which confirms that the Mulcharmy Purulia's effect is negated.
I would say Purulia is probably the worst one for Jonathan to deal with, so getting rid of that with call by was definitely a heads-up play from him.
Absolutely. There's so many cards that come out from the hand in the Yubel strategy, whether it's your Grave Squirmer, maybe the additional copies of Yubel if they happen to sneak their way into the hand and Spirit of Yubel's effect resolves. But speaking of resolving effects, we're going to Fiendsmith's Requiem to bring out another Fiendsmith, the Fiendsmith Engraver.
The man that makes all these fun toys.
Certainly gets a lot done. I'm so glad that we got to see more Fiendsmith Sanked earlier in the tournament, so you could see him just grinding up fiends into making his beautiful collection of armaments.
Yep, and there we see the special summon of Swarmer from the hand. Going to go ahead and link those two off into potentially... Yeah, I guess you can go into heaven, but no, of course it's going to be sequence. Going to give us access to all of our fusion monsters.
Seen how powerful the first turn Called by the Grave can be. Sometimes it doesn't work out, right? You got Called by and that's cool, and nothing else.
Oh, yeah.
But in here, it's very impactful, allowing Jonathan to go ahead and keep playing.
So there's looking we're resolving Sequence's effect to return these two monsters back to our deck, and I believe that gives us our access to our Aerial Eater again. We saw a similar combo to this in Game 1, but there we started with Samsara, D-Lotus, and Squirmer, but this time we're going with Lacrima and Squirmer.
All right, so cycling through the deck here, there is the Spirit of Yubel hitting the graveyard.
Thanks to Aerial Eater's effect.
Taking a quick look there, a reminder of all the fun fiends that have fallen.
Yeah, this is where I do not envy any Yubel players. I'm like, where do you go from here? I can go anywhere. I can do my whole thing now.
Up, down, left, right. Let's see where we go.
Yep, there we see Unchained Soul of Yama. Going to be accessing the Unchained version of our deck. All these powerful fiend cards all have so much synergy with each other. It's beautiful.
So Sharvara added to the hand. Let's see where we go next. Jonathan taking another look at the graveyard there again. There's a lot of fiends, but we're going to go and activate an effect here, banishing the Infernal Grave Squirmer, grabbing that Spirit of Yubel, and special summoning it.
Gonna go ahead and get that Nightmare Pain out of the deck and set it, I would assume. Go ahead and say, you know what, you go ahead and go into your battle phase. See what happens.
Please, please attack me, Yubel says.
Activate Nightmare Pain.
Nightmare Pain is activated there. Going to go and destroy the Yubel. Spirit of Yubel, such a crazy card. Again, not even once per turn bringing out Yubel. And now we're seeing some sort of Lotus being
Giving us some
added.
follow-up for later turns because we already used Swimmer this turn. Now we're going to use the effect of Yubel since it was destroyed to summon out a Yubel from our deck. The original, the OG.
Certainly classic edition there. Never thought we'd see it at top tournament tables, but always happy.
They are a crazy card.
Certainly been Yubel's year. Let's see if that can keep up.
Hermano.
Counting summons here.
Counting cards in hand, I believe.
Oh,
and then
cards in hand,
counting
okay.
known cards, we added 2 to our hand, being the Shavara and the Centaur Delonis. I would love it if people who had Nibiru just was like, yeah, no, that's summon number 6, and they just held their hand up in front of me, be like, should I stop? I think I should stop summoning monsters. Okay.
Definitely an intimidating duelist, but these are quite the sportsmen, so we're not getting any fronting here. Instead, we're going to see who comes to the front line from this Link summon.
I think that's Muckraker of the Underworld.
It is Muckraker of the Underworld.
Very cool.
Got the microphone ready to interview you and how you feel about Yukio.
Because we didn't get the absolute combo nuts of Nightmare Throne this turn, we won't be able to access too many more crazy cards. I think the best we could probably end on with the Muckraker is going to be something like a Rage, plus like a Chamber set, and an SP / like... It really depends on what other cards are in his extra deck.
Still,
maybe a Phantom or 2.
True, but many points of interaction there, and definitely the materials for a Phantom Yubel in the graveyard. Couldn't imagine not accessing at least one of those, and I do see the Yubel being plucked from her resting place. Or not.
Never mind. I have a different plan.
Jonathan thinking where to go next.
I don't believe we resolved the Muckraker's effect, right?
Do not believe so.
We
She
have not
stands
discarded.
alone.
I think he's just trying to figure out how best to use the Shavara in hand because he still needs to destroy something.
Gotta figure it out, but looks like...
Okay.
Alright, so we are using the Muckraker effect on summon. And goodbye Samsara D Lotus.
Maybe.
Maybe?
Really thinking about it? Really concerned?
And that's going to bring back Spirit of Yubel.
Yeah, so target and then pay the cost to target. Got it.
No, es chain. Es un efecto junto al de descartar. No es costo.
Yeah, I believe the discard is part of the effect.
At least caught that part from that, so certainly learning a lot of language lessons here. It's amazing that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is the language we all speak, right?
Oh,
it's almost
yeah.
a pictographic language. We all recognize these cards no matter where in the world we're watching. Speaking of recognizing cards, you definitely recognize this play. Sharvara going to go ahead and destroy that Spirit of Yubel. So it looks like we're using the Spirit of Yubel's effects. And we've also got the Unchained Soul Lord of Yama. So 1 for that, and looks like maybe 2 for the Unchained Soul Lord of Yama's effect.
Ser chain 1 y... No. Chain 1 no.
Shall we do it or not?
Chain 1.
Nicholas leaning over the table just to verify what's coming out of the graveyard here.
Yep, so we're going to go ahead and summon the Yubel from the graveyard. It can be summoned from, I believe, anywhere, as long as it's not face down in the banishment.
Very powerful card for sure. Yubel has never had that much help. But also, speaking of help, Fiendsmith Engraver going to chuck that backpack back at the top of the stack.
And here we go. Going to go access our powerful rank 6 pool.
Oh, we're finally seeing it. We haven't seen very many of these, but Caesar still gets it done. 2 negates of the summon-based effects are very powerful and you can use both in the same turn, catching those wonderful Xyz materials.
Do not mess with the Triple D High Weave King, Caesar.
Render that unto Caesar that which is Caesar's. Little theater kid joke for those of the audience who caught that, but back to the duel in action for now.
Okay, sí.
It's from a story. Anyway. I believe they're probably asking about what available effects are engraved, maybe? To my knowledge, besides Yama, there isn't anything.
Not that I could see, besides the Samsung Lotus, at least at this point.
Okay. Okay.
Certainly helpful to have a Spanish-speaking judge up there for sure. Imagine getting this far into the finals and not being able to have that. So again, great shout out to the judge team for being able to coordinate this.
Yeah, the one that's speaking to them right now, his name is Dio. He's an absolute wonder.
Well, thank you, Dio. And speaking of thanks, I think we are going to go ahead and be thankful that we've got Yubel in the graveyard and at least an effect monster, because here comes Phantom of Yubel.
Y te voy a dar...
Unfortunate that we couldn't turn this Muckraker into anything more impactful to interact with Nicholas's board, but here we have Triple D High Wave King Caesar, a Yubel, and I believe we saw a Droll and Lockbird flash in Jonathan's hand. 4
points of interaction, that's going to feel really strong. Nicholas certainly has insurance there, having taken game 1, but at least Jonathan seems poised to maybe bring this to a third and final game.
Also, big ups to Jonathan for keeping all of his important monsters in defense mode, dodging the most likely lightning storms that are in almost every single Tenpai Dragon deck.
It looks like we're about to activate a spell card now, and there's the lightning storm.
Beautiful, gonna get rid of that Nightmare Pain, that very dangerous interaction that forces you to attack monsters that can't be destroyed by battle. Not a thing that Tenpai wants to do.
They certainly do not.
And there we see the Pyadra. Are we gonna activate the effect?
Oh, okay, so we're gonna use the Phantom Yubel. Gonna change the effect. Oh, but I didn't even catch that. Even with the language barrier, it seemed like he initially indicated okay, so maybe we are going to go ahead and let that resolve.
Yeah, there's a world where he was like saying it to himself, but because you verbalize okay to your opponent, they are clear to keep going. Verbal, basically, interactions always take precedent over anything else.
No matter what language we're in, the tournament policy guidelines still control, so make sure to fully announce your plays. It may feel a little silly sometimes, right? You sound like Yamayugi, I activate my card. But make sure you say it, because then you know you activated your card.
So there we added Kaiman to the hand.
Certainly not the end of the world there, because technically still the Phantom Yubel still able to do it. Oh, wow, using the Droll and Lockbird, chaining the Songang Kaiman to the Droll and Lockbird, but then chaining the Caesar.
Ooh, and
that's
there we see the scoop from Nicholas.
And it looks like we got about 32 minutes left on the clock.
All right, Jonathan will be going first. Nicholas is choosing to go second. Oh, wait, no. Nicholas is going first and activating Heat Wave as his first action in the main phase. Oh, my. He did it. He did the swerve. Everyone always goes, Tenpai, go second. Tenpai, go second. He's like, you know what? That's what I think you think I'm going to do. So I'm going first. And now I've activated Heat Wave.
Definitely a great bait and switch. And since your opponent can't do anything with effect monsters for a bit, well, yeah, it's heating on up.
Jonathan just slyly reaches over and grabs that Solaria and the trophy. Be like, I have a normal monster, though. No, sadly.
My apologies for the ears that I might have ruined with that laugh. It looks like we're going to use Songen Summoning here.
This will protect all of our Fire Dragon monsters and get us access to a Tenpai card. Going to be adding Chundra to the hand, and then after that resolves, discard a card from our hand.
Won't be able to summon anything, because of course you did activate the Heat Wave.
Yeah, it's first action. I mean, you don't get to do anything either.
Certainly fair. Maybe we'll see that when the Primite strategy kicks off in a full gear next year. And, you know, Heat Wave, blue eyes.
And there we just send a second copy of Heat Wave from the hand using Sand again. Then we just set our pass. I'm like, Heat Wave is enough. It's your turn.
Well, especially now since you want to go ahead and get your game plan on. So taking a chance to read that Heat Wave. It seems too good to be true, but this card does what it does. No effect monster special summons. No effect monsters at all right now.
I mean, this should just be a straight-up pass from Jonathan and be like, I still have all my non-engine in my hand. There we see a set one. Yeah, you can still set. I believe it strictly says normal summon. There we see a second set. And then we just see the pass.
Set one. Set a spell and trap and pass. Don't know what year Yu-Gi-Oh! We're playing, but we're here for it.
And now we get to reuse Sangan Summoning's effect. That seems so powerful. Just perfectly sculpt our hand of all of our engine cards.
Very, very brave to just be like, nah, I got this. Yeah, so it has been, we have to add, then the discard. Certainly telegraphing the Droll and Lockbird, giving just a little bit of information to the opponent. Discarding the Chundra as a result. And now the Droll and Lockbird comes down.
This will prevent things like Kaimin or anything like that from being really scary unless they summon from deck specifically.
Baja efecto para hacer especia.
So now we're going to go and use Call by the Grave, getting rid of the Chundra for now.
I believe it does target, but even if it didn't, there's only one card in the graveyard anyway.
Certainly not much, so it's battle time.
Vajra attacking its Lotus.
0 defense. Wow,
Set 2 pass. Jonathan survived the Tenpai turn 2.
We got ourselves a match here.
And there we see D-Barrier calling Fusion, I would have to assume.
Oh, I would assume there's not really a lot of reason to call Ritual or Pendulum, you know?
Yeah.
Save that for the Ryuge decks that we'll see sometime next format.
But this deck can do more than enough with just Link monsters.
It absolutely can, and so let's get that started with Dark Beckoning Beast.
Probably one of the second strongest normal summons in the deck, maybe even one of the strongest because it gets you access to Gates, which is one of the most powerful cards I've ever seen.
Nicholas taking a second just to hype himself up there. Can he make it? Can he not? Dark Beckoning Beast getting, of course, the opening of the Spirit Gates. Using the extra normal summon there of the Dark Beckoning Beast because the Summoner D Lotus has 0 attack. Using the effect there. Fumbling for the card, but using it as well. Dominus Impulse, and there is a trap card in the graveyard, but not relevant, of course, since the monster was tributed there.
Yep. And he has attempted to summon, I believe, off of Samsara D Lotus.
Yeah, it looks like they're clarifying he's not locked out of anything right now because he did take the time to set that Dominus Impulse, so we'll activate the opening of the Spirit Gates. And we're going to use that to add a card from the deck to the hand that mentions a Sacred Beast. Sometimes it's another Dark Beckoning Beast, sometimes it's Chaos Summoning Beast.
There's Chaos Summoning Beast, but we've already used our extra normal.
But we could always discard a Fiendsmith. Wow, I assumed the discard was going to be off of the opening of the Spirit Gates, but this combo is just starting. So Fiendsmith Engraver, grabbing something from the deck.
Yeah, I would say the scariest thing Jonathan can probably set up is something similar we saw to Game 2, where he has like a really powerful Link monster like SP Little Knight or Unchained Soul of Rage, as well as High Wave King Caesar. And there we see the Fiendsmith track being added off of Engraver, automatically activated. Gonna go ahead and search for what I would assume is Fabled Lurie, the pseudo Fiendsmith card. There
An honorary Fiendsmith.
Yeah, he's just a little guy.
Just a swell little guy.
Gonna be specialing from the graveyard, summoning to the board, and then here we got to see the Link one into Fiendsmith Breakaway. And we may not have access to the powerful fusions, but we
and
do
the
have
fusions,
plenty of good cards.
that is a real consideration here, right? Because no Necro Quick Princess, no Phantom of Yubel, no Fiendsmith's Desiree. So it does really hinder this combo. But it's still true that you could just play as if you didn't have those cards. You're just acting like it's Legacy of Destruction format.
Oh yeah. There we see Lacrima being summoned from the Requiem. Gonna go ahead and dump from the deck. Are we going to see yet another Fiendsmith in Paradise, one of the best cards ever for this format?
It would be a really great setup, but it looks like Fiendsmith Engraver going to the graveyard instead.
I guess that's pretty good too. Like, I don't know.
We're still doing some Fiendsmith combos, right? Not completely Legacy of Destruction flavored here.
Gonna go ahead and shuffle back that Requiem, that Engraver that was sent earlier to bring back our Engraver, and then equip the Requiem. Requiem effect to go ahead and destroy Vajra.
Now, do you see what I see? I see 10 stars worth of monsters that are light or dark. We could see a Chaos Angel here.
Please, please tell me the Tenpai player gets punished for not playing, for not calling Synchro on their own D-Barrier.
Oh, well, who would call Synchro? But that is why we've seen more and more Fiendsmith players including that, because Dimensional Barrier only blocks one dimension, so just call the other one.
So there we see the opening of Spirit Gates, discarding Terror Incarnate to bring back Samsara D Lotus, and here we see the Link 2 into Unchained Soul Lord Yama.
And if this grind game continues, technically you do have those powerful Yubel cards in the graveyard, so you could just start off with a Phantom of Yubel next turn if the duel gets that far.
Very true, and this could be a really awesome Shavara turn, getting that Lacrima in the graveyard, summoning it back out, getting the Chamber, getting access to Caesar. Oh, we're ending battle phase, gotcha. Yeah, this is probably the most amount of damage we'll have in play, and that lets us also play around Lightning Storm in the following turn by summoning any monsters we summon after this in defense mode. I think it's 52, 51, something like that.
Sounded like it.
Because it's 2,000, 2,800 plus 13, right? From Lacrima.
Well, we should be seeing the life point counters faster. You can say beep, beep, beep,
oh,
beep,
not
beep,
51, 41, 41.
Now taking a look at the extra deck again, moving on to main phase 2.
It was 5,000.
All right, well, I learned some Spanish today. 5,000.
Gonna go ahead and link potentially into Unchained Soul of Rage or SP. Both are solid options.
I feel like the Unchained Soul of Rage, and apparently Jonathan feels this way too, is a strong way to get an SP Little Knight set up that will also banish, and that can be very important, right? Somebody summons out a Tenpai monster and you're able to get rid of the field spell immediately and then do something fun from there.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Unchained Soul of Rage lets you link during the main phase only, right?
Yes, and that would be difficult because of the Sangen summoning preventing those dragons from being affected by card effects.
Yeah. So
well,
maybe,
fire dragons.
So maybe he's just probably doing this to get access to Chamber and the rank 6 play because he still has access to XYZs. So that way, if a random like Link monster or something comes in main phase 2, he can Chamber and use it to get rid of with Rage. So there we see Yama bringing back the Rage, and as well as the Rage to add back the Centauri Lotus, and then we've got the overlay into Triple D High Weave King Caesar.
And you mentioned Xyz monsters were still available and in defense mode, making sure not to get hit by the lightning storms that he had already seen. It's like pass and play as he passes the deck across the table for one last cut.
Oh, did we side out our Unchained Trap if we were playing one?
Possibly. Maybe didn't think we need it. So now Nicholas, starting things off, going to activate the Sangen summoning. Yep. And it's fine.
Oh, the Shavar one was never engraved. That's why we didn't get it. This is the third proc of Sangen summoning. I've never seen this card used that much. That's awesome.
I didn't know it could be used on multiple turns in a single duel.
It is a pretty powerful card. There's a reason why it's limited in Master Duel.
Absolutely. Some crazy stuff going on in Master Duel, but over here in the TCG, we got Ultimate Slayer.
That is huge. Sending the Aggregator to shuffle back the Triple D High Wave King Caesar. I believe that was the top deck for turn because we already had Hydra in hand.
And negating the Unchained Soul of Rage with the
the materials go to grave.
Yeah.
The Caesar goes back to the extra deck.
That is correct.
And now we use Aggregator to negate Soul of Rage, and then we normal summon Chandra.
So you ain't doing nothing with that Link monster, so let's see what happens with Chandra here.
Ultimate Slayer showing just how powerful of a one card that could be.
It takes a little bit of an investment from your extra deck, but completely worth it. So Chandra's effect going to activate here. Doesn't seem like we've got anything that we can respond with, so getting out Tenpai Dragon Fadra.
Nicholas knows we have a Lotus in hand, which is not going to do anything.
Fadra to Pydra. Pydra's effect activates.
Okay. Ito entra en daño. Okay.
So here we're going to grab the Kaiman.
Alright, so still need to do some attacking.
There we see Fadra attacking. I believe it's a 60 to 18, but we don't take any damage.
Okay.
Just want to get those attack numbers up for the future Biden Dragion.
Clarifying some information there with the judges.
Okay.
Don't know that we've had the second attack. Looks like maybe we have, so Fadra did attack, and now we're going to go ahead and synchro summon there for Sangenpai Biden Dragion.
We're going to go ahead and summon back from the graveyard.
Take a look at the graveyard. What are we hiding?
Effective engrave of Lacrima. Going to go ahead and send.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead and place it back in the deck. Special summon Requiem.
Oh, interesting. Just maybe to reduce the amount of damage dealt?
Yeah, that is 1,000 less damage he's taking this turn. But we do have access to potentially Trident Dragion as Nicholas, which by destroying your own Sangen Kaiman can make it, I believe, 9,000 attack?
Well, but it's not just 1,000. Looks like we're using the quick effect of the Fiendsmith's Requiem in order to special summon. Perhaps a defense position Fiendsmith Engraver. Very big defense point on that.
Yeah, 2,800, right?
24.
2,400. So there we see the effect of Fadra to quick synchro. I believe we used Chandra earlier.
Sí, atacó con él, pero cayó mi mono y activó efecto de sincronizar. Decidió no atacar.
I believe, who was the target of the attack for Rage? Sorry, for Biden Dragion.
Tiene que hacer replay.
That is true. I don't know. Oh, because there's a replay. Yeah, so they would have to redeclare the attack, so I don't think that they properly have done that.
And there we see Transcendence Dragon switching all monsters to attack mode and stopping all battle phase effects.
We're also going to special summon, which means we get to destroy the opening of the Spirit Gates. Oh, but it looks like it's not even worth it at this point. We are just going battle, battle, battle. Oh, and is it coming?
The ever-famous Trident Dragion!
destroying cards for multiple attacks, and that field spell if destroyed will increase the attack of Trident Dragion by double.
Making it 6,000 and will in theory attack 3 times. I think they're just clarifying how Requiem works, if it can work on Declaration.
Alright, so what is this? All of this is left, right?
Oh, I think we're reversing the board state here.
Just rewinding just a little bit. One of our wonderful judges must have caught something.
Yeah, maybe it was not a legal activation of the Requiem's effect.
Seems like it's just the Requiem effect that was the issue.
Yeah. So now we're reversing. The Binding Dragons will declare the attack on the Soul of Rage.
Ahora sí, ahí.
Okay, so now we're back on track here.
Gonna go ahead and bring back out, not Trident Dragion, Transcendence Dragion.
Yeah.
Same thing, we attack.
And good for Nicholas for not accidentally committing to the wrong synchro here, maybe getting a little nervous because of the excitement there, rewinding the game state. Still being very thorough here.
Yep, and there we see the Spirit Gates being destroyed by Binding Dragion's effect.
Ya. Ya habías activado, ah. No puedo activar nada, al final de cuentas.
Yeah, there's no effects that can be activated on the battle phase for Jonathan's side because of the Transcendence. And there we go into Trident Dragion effect, destroy Kaiman. Sorry, summoning, increase the attack twice.
Trident Dragion, 6,000 twice. That's 12,000 on its own, and there's the hand.